UBD unit being either the Great Depression, World War II, the role of women, the role of people of color, electoral politics, economic issues, you name it. We now have, because I know you're hungry and want to leave.
Okay.
We now have.
Can I just say one other thing about the activities? When you were, one of the things that we struggled with was whether we wanted to break you down into two groups and so that you actually interacted with more people, or whether we wanted to keep it as a big group and have a lot of people. And I think that some of you who've used this activity as you discussed it, that you've seen that probably what would have been a better idea is to scale it down a few people, and maybe not the key people, but some other people who actually had some influence or how things were influencing them. And so that you have a little more time to talk and you get to hear more perspectives. You did a fabulous job of making some really big connections, and I think your students would too. I'd like to give you one other little idea that you may want to think about. The process of converting those primary documents over into a personal narrative, or talking about myself, was a wonderful language arts lesson. And if you could work with your language arts teacher to have them to do that in their classroom, you know, there was a lot of good things that would be going on where when the kids come to your class, they'll already have the cards, but they got made someplace else by some students instead of necessarily you. As you discussed, I heard a few places where I could tell that maybe our wording was not quite right, so you came away with a little bit misunderstanding. Well, that's what you do when you draft a paper, and that's a really fabulous idea. You want to say one other thing? Sure. Okay. Another thing I'd like to point out as we start moving to looking at the unit. I don't know whether you were made the same connection that I did this morning. When I was listening to Dr. Kennedy, I realized that he had set up a mini UBD unit, because he started off with throwing out a question, which was an essential question, and that was, who won the war? Okay, and then what he did was, and he did not clarify that in terms of economics, people lost or whatever, but as he threw that out, and that is exactly what we would do in terms of the hook part of a lesson, so it's getting you to think about this type of thing. He then went right in and he started talking about two that I caught, could have been more, but he also gave two enduring understanding. And one of the things that he said was that the Second World War was a transformation event. Okay? Big idea, you could have read it in a book, but you don't get it until you do something with it. And that's exactly what an enduring understanding is supposed to be. And then he also said that in the case of the United States, the transformation did not just happen. There were some very deliberate, strategic plans and something else on how to fight the war, where to fight the war, and the support of it. Again, an enduring understanding. You could read it, but you don't understand it until you dig deeper. He also talked about, in the process of doing that, of some of the skills that he wanted to have done to come to his understanding. Because he had looked at pictures, he had analyzed political cartoons, he had looked at posters. Well, see, that would be the things that you would have on your skills. He also went back and was talking about some knowledge, because he took a good bit of time and explained strategic planning, strategic bombing. And so that would be a term that would be up under the knowledge part of your unit. As he went through that, part of the learning was going to actually be the history part of it. And as he presented his case and he threw out the ideas about the three important cities, what he did was to just take evidence of why this was, why this was, why this was. When you go to write your unit, you've got those same options as how do you want students to show their understanding? Do you want them to show their understanding because of the artifacts that they would put together for a museum display? Do you want them to show their understanding through writing an essay and answering the question, who won the war? Do you want them to show their understanding because debating this actually topic and that they have to come back and show those? But those would all be performance assessments. In the process of learning that also, we've come away learning because we had lecture with pictures, we had the field trip, You saw the video. We had this mix and mingle activity, and you've also got reading. And that is, in a neat little package, a UBD unit. It's just hadn't been written out on it, but it's all there. And he did the same thing yesterday in his presentation where he's going to put all those things together. Okay, I'll get off my dissertation.
So we have actually less time than we'd hoped for you to share your lessons. And what I'm going to suggest is that you do it in pairs. And I'm going to suggest that what you do is just share the idea of your UBD unit and talk about, given all of what we've discussed yesterday and today, how you might amend it, how you might change the enduring understanding or the essential question, or if there's a particular activity in your UBD unit that you're proud of and you really like and you want to share that, to share that.
And let's pair by 11th and 11th, you know, each grade, world history, 7th grade, 8th grade, whatever. So you're learning from each other about how you can go about teaching those. Okay, everybody, 11th grade, where are you?
We're 11th grade teachers.
Okay, find you one.
There's two right there.
Are y'all going to come back and do something?
A little teeny if I know we run out of time.
Where are my 12th grade teachers? Okay, 12th grade teachers, okay. Y'all get
It's not going to be 40 minutes.
10th grade teachers,
You can set it off
mainly
now.
10th grade.
Okay, yes,
I need
shut it off
somebody
now.
else that wants.
And then pick it up again.
About the understanding by design process. In fact, one of the questions may be that's going through your mind, especially as you struggle with writing in this format. Why this format? Why use this format? Why can't I just use what my school district says? Casey.
Because Common Core will use this format.
Common Core is definitely using this type of format, yes.
And it's coming.
And it's coming. In fact, in the world of curriculum right now, if you read almost anything about curriculum, what it's going to do is refer back to the understanding by design format. People will pick up different parts of it and they're going to carry it through just like we did on some other things. Most of your lesson plans right now look very, very similar to Madeline Hunter or Mastery Design, very similar. That was picked up and used incorrectly, but it's still with us. The same idea about the understanding by design. There will be parts of that that some people are going to really hit on and they're going to go for, and other people are going to hit on something else. But the whole idea of this is the fact that I want more student engagement. I want to use this as a way for motivation. And instead of it being so much about me telling students, I want them to come to these big understandings themselves. So the process is designed to move us away from telling and getting more engagement, getting more, having more motivation, and helping students to uncover these ideas. Where are the places that you feel very comfortable with in the process? What are some of the things that you go, yeah, I got this, I'm ready? We'll start off with stage one. Stage one, what we're trying to answer is, what do I want students to learn? That's easy. That's the hardest part for me, okay? Okay. And when we break that stage one down, we should not have duplications. It should fit together, but it shouldn't be duplications, because one of the things I'm doing is I'm coming up with these big, essential questions. And I can use those big questions to guide me to what I want students to learn. I can also use that to hook those students into this. As we said earlier, who won the war? Who won World War II could be an essential question. It seems pretty simple to begin with, but when you dig down a little bit deeper, there's more there. An understanding is supposed to be a statement about what are the most important things that students should come away with understanding as opposed to knowing, because on the knowing side you're going to have your dates and your terminology and the facts, so to speak. But the understanding would be things that just may not get that until I deal with that in different ways. I hear it from some different viewpoints and look at it from some different perspectives. Whereas your skills are going to be things such as how to do research, critical reading, asking probing questions may also be one of the things that you have. Analyzing documents may be one of the things that you have there. Analyzing political cartoons, those are all the things that can be in those. Skills that you can do, but you just get better and better at. Okay? How do you feel about stage 2, which is our assessment? How will I know that students have learned? Let me hear some of your performance assessments that you're going to do.
Mine was rubric format.
Okay, what are they going to do? You've got a rubric for it. What are they going to do?
They developed a pamphlet
Okay,
on Westward movement for like a newspaper. So if people were planning on moving west, they would have the information that they needed to carry with them in a smaller format.
okay. I can tell you this, Melissa will not be happy with this. She will not be convinced that students have learned if she doesn't put that rubric there with them. Because what ends up is that you would end up with something really pretty, took a whole lot of time, and you're still going, what do they know? And the whole idea of the performance assessment is that you're going to show what you understand based directly on what you put in there as your enduring understanding. And if you don't have something that nails down what's important, you'll never use it. You'll say it takes up too much time.
I did, to write a letter home as a member of the Corps of Discovery for the Lewis and Clark expedition and describe the land, people, and animals that they discovered and the trip.
Okay. You may want to include with that they have to